Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, my fine friends. Welcome to the 22nd episode of Season 14 of the Tom Petty Project podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Brown, and this is the only weekly podcast that digs into the entire Tom Petty catalogue song by song, album by album, and includes conversations with musicians, fans, and people connected with Tom along the way. So first of all, I promise I'm going to start Mojo next week. I'm trying to get a few more ducks in a row here, and as a reminder, actually, if you haven't dropped me a voice note yet telling me what Mojo means to you, go to the episode notes. There's a link there. Please send me a voice note, or even if you just want to send me an email or anything on social media, and I can read it out on the show if you're not comfortable having your voice on air. Tell me what Mojo means to you. So obviously, Tom is the primary focus of most of this project, but as I said last week, one of the joys of the last 5 years has been discovering how astonishingly good a band Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers were. One of the 10 questions I always ask my guests is, who is your favourite band member other than Tom? Well, here are the answers from the guests I've had so far. See how many voices you remember, and if you don't know them, you can always find the list in the episode notes. Okay, your next question is favorite band member other than Tom.
It's unfair. It's tough. I'm going to go with the co-captain, Mike Campbell. I think without Mike, I don't think it would not have been the same thing. I think he co-wrote a lot of songs with Tom. Usually a couple on every album. But just that having that master guitar player, and his guitar playing is such that it's not a virtuoso guitar playing. He pulls it back and plays just what you need to fit that song.
Yeah.
And without that, I think the Heartbreakers are missing a big part of it. Like, I think that having that extra piece there, not only do you have a great songwriter, and great songs, but you have that extra rock and roll, perfect guitar part for the song. And it doesn't work as well for me without that. I think Tom realized that too, because he glommed on to Mike from the beginning and says, "You're in my band forever."
Yep.
And he was there the whole way through everything. He went a whole career, and then Mojo, he's like, "All right, you just got the guitar you always wanted. Go ahead and open it up and shred." And he did, and that was a very cool thing about Mojo. But yes, I mean, Mike was always there, even when it's a solo record. It's still Mike Campbell and Tom, throughout the whole thing. It was always, Mike was always a big part of it, and he was always at his side.
Yeah. It's just that symbiosis, right? That natural sort of, and again, just good friends. Like, they genuinely loved each other, and they were tight. And that makes a difference when you're writing with someone.
Sure. They were brothers. I mean,
yeah,
they without a doubt, that's the case.
Mike sent me this guitar.
Yeah.
And when I was in LA, I loved Ron's guitar, and I offered to buy it off him, and he liked it too. So he said no, even though I tried like for 3 days in a row to let me. I said, like, any price you want, I'll take home this guitar. He's like, no, I don't think so. I like this guitar too much. So I don't have Ron's guitar, but I do have Mike's. So I'll go with Mike just because of that.
That's awesome.
So if you're watching, Ron, and you still play that Sunburst Rust, just know, hey, it's here. It could be here.
You never know. You might have a clear out one day like Mike did, right? Maybe that'll be on the chopping block one day. You never know.
Every once in a while, I still drop him a text like, "Hey, you still playing that? Still playing that guitar?" He's like, "I am." Yeah.
Guitars and guitars, man. There's a special relationship. There's some guitars that people will just never get rid of, right? It just plays a certain way. It's not the same with keyboards, and like drums are the same. With keyboards, I think are a little bit different, but guitars, there's something about it. There's something about the feel of it and the aesthetic of it, right? That guitars just get really attached to.
Yeah, it's funny for I'm still very early in the process, but for college applications, I applied mostly local to New Jersey, New York area, but I did apply to the University of California in San Diego. So if I end up going there, he better be prepared that every day he'll get like a little call, I'm only a couple blocks down if you want me to drive over and get that guitar, whatever, I know I'm paying for college tuition, but We'll see.
Eventually he'll give in. Just beat him down relentlessly.
Exactly. Yeah, jeez. Just take maybe. I mean, if I'm over there, I could just have it on weekends.
I think Howie.
Yeah.
Howie was so talented too, not just, music wise and singing. He produced and he did a lot of work with like John Prine, and Johnny Cash as well, and stuff. And he was just such a sweet guy. He just seemed like such a sweet guy.
Yeah. Well, won a Grammy. I mean, he won a Grammy for The Missing Years, which is, again, just a phenomenal album and has one of my favorite John Prine songs on. All the Best is such a great song. And you get that you do get that feel of, always get that feel from Howie that he was just a sweetheart, right? And obviously had his demons, but just a lovely man.
Right. And I've had, a couple of people that knew them tell me a couple of stories, and even Jane Petty, she always refers to Howie as sweet Howie, so I just have to think that he was a sweetheart,
Well, you just always think too, like, maybe if I just went and gave him a hug and told him that he was loved, maybe that would, which I'm sure lots of people did, but.
Yeah, and he loved animals, but then again, Mike Campbell loves animals as well, and is involved with Rock the Dogs, which is a shelter that they support and stuff, and they do a great job, for things. So, I think Howie would be my choice.
Scott.
Ah, okay.
Scott is the most underappreciated member of that band. And if you ever have anybody who knows Scott, if you could please send my appreciation through that person to Scott Thurston, because I think he's amazing. He goes back to punk days.
Well, he's Iggy Pop's guitarist. I mean, the guy's for real,
Scott.
Right? Oh, yeah.
You know Scott.
Yeah.
Again, great vocalist, really important guitarist in the later years. And really, I thought he really was a great support for Mr. Petty in terms of helping him get through the last part of the career. So he was really an underappreciated and a multi-instrumentalist.
Oh, a sensational
I can't say
musician.
Mike, because Mike is like saying, Mike is perfect. So Mike is unbelievable. But I wanted just to plug Scott.
Hey, I'm a huge Scott Thurston fan. Absolutely. I mean, he's like you said, he plays everything. He'll back up Benmont if Benmont needs to play a fairly complex organ part, needs a piano, but he'll play piano, or he'll play organ, or he'll play harmonica, and he'll do the vocals, and he'll play guitar, and he can play bass if he needs. Like, he's just a guy who can do anything. Yeah,
and he hits all the notes, and their voices sounded really good together.
They're also.
I know these are horrible questions.
It is. I'm going to say Ben because he might see this. No. And I think you're right. You talked about how Ben elevates the song from just being like a rock and roll tune to special. I mean, no disrespect to Mike, and he may see this too, God knows. And I love him to bits. And he's one of the truly underrated, great, great, great rock and roll guitar players because he elevates every song he plays on.
Yeah.
He has a part, it's thought out. He's from that George Harrison school. You can hum his solos.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people can you say that about, right?
Yeah.
But if they didn't have Benmont, they would just be kind of rock and roll records.
Yeah.
He's the person who elevates them and makes them, Heartbreakers records, that gives it that special sauce.
Do you think that I looking back and going through, because I'm on Hard Promises now, so I've reviewed the first 3 albums, and there's a distinct shift when you get to Damn the Torpedoes, where it's almost like Jimmy Iovine says, why is that guy not higher in the mix on these records? He's part of your sound on stage. So it's almost like it's a palpable, we need that guy front and center on a lot more of this stuff because it adds so much more width to it. So I don't know if you've ever talked to Benmont about that, because that's an interesting idea. I wonder if that was actually the case.
I never really have it, and it's weird because I interviewed him when the Wildflowers died. I mean, that's weird. I interviewing a friend is always strange, but I interviewed him about the Wildflowers documentary, and we took a left turn into the catalog, and he just went through album by album, giving me his opinion on each of the albums, and I'm like, I got to use that someday, somewhere. But it was like, oh, I guess this is what we're doing, because there was no time. It wasn't like a regular interview. There was no time limit. We were just talking. Yeah. And I'll have to go back and get back to you on that. I'm sure he's aware that the sounds, look, they became a band in that 2.5 years.
100%. Yeah.
So, whether that was Iovine elevating him or it was just the way things were evolving within the unit. So.
Yeah, Benmont Tench. Hands down. It's not because I have any great fondness for the piano or anything. I just, personality-wise, I think if you... when it comes to the Beatles, people assume that I'm a John Lennon person, but I'm a George Harrison person. And I think for most George Harrison people, I think Benmont Tench is where it's at also, he does drive a lot more of the songs than people think that he does.
Yep.
And has a lot more influence there, even if there's no credits there necessarily, even though Mike got a lot of writing credit more than Benmont did, I think. And just personality-wise, the orneriness of Benmont Tench is beautiful. It's so beautiful, and he's just a little younger than them, and so there's always that like younger brother or close cousin following along type mentality. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I enjoy about Benmont. I also think he's a great solo artist, and I don't know. He just seems like a real cool individual. He's always got an interesting hat on. He knows how to dress himself. There's a lot of things to appreciate about Ben. So that's where my heart is at.
And, I was thinking about it, they all have their qualities, right? Like, and they all contribute something a little different, but I got to go with Mike Campbell. Like, he's such an instrumental, pardon the pun, member of the Heartbreakers. Like even Tom solo stuff. Like Tom told him after, Mudcrutch kind of fell apart when they didn't want to bring the whole band aboard. He's like, Mike, don't leave me. Like, I need you. I want to be playing music with this guy for the rest of my life. And he did. Yeah. And, Mike Campbell is so good and so underrated, I think, as a guitar player. Like one of the greatest rock guitarists of all time. Like 100%. He doesn't do all the flashy stuff like an Eddie Van Halen, but his contributions just, they can't be ignored. He's an instrument, he's a vital part of the sound of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Well, you guys talk about this lots on the Van Halen podcast about, Eddie's quite often at his best when he's playing for the song, and he can melt your face anytime he wants to. He can play a million notes where one would do, but those solos where he plays are really tuneful, meaningful. I'm thinking like right now, the soloing right now wouldn't be on most Van Halen fans, list of top 5, top 10 Eddie Van Halen guitar solos, but for me, that's, or 5150, let's say, something like that, where it's so melodic and it just fits exactly what the song needs. And that's what Mike Campbell was just peerless at, right? It was finding exactly the right notes to play and the right notes not to play. So.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So got to go with Mike Campbell, even though a close second might be Howie, just because you forget, like when they added that voice to the records, it just elevated the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
I have to say Mike Campbell. I know, obvious choice. Yeah. But was still one of the most underrated guitar players and songwriters alive. And
so
just
prolific.
I know. And but I think it's important that he is underrated, right? That's part of the power. That's part of the mystique. That's part of maybe what allows him to be so prolific and to write these iconic riffs for other people too. It's part of the craft. It's part of the work. And so I just really like him.
Mike Campbell.
Yeah. Sensational musician. Again, another player. He can play so many different styles. I was talking about that with, I think it was, what song was that now that I was listening to? Where, you get, like, if you get a Joe Bonamassa, who's a phenomenal blues player, I love listening to that guy play. When he plays heavy metal, it kind of sounds like a blues player impersonating heavy metal. It doesn't really have that authenticity to it. When Mike does is like the 50s stuff, Gator on the Lawn or whatever it might be, he sounds like Chet Atkins. It doesn't sound like someone doing sort of a weak copy of 50s rock and roll. It sounds like the real thing. And he's got that ability he's got a chameleon-like ability to play any style properly. And because I think it's this, they're all such students of music that he understands the music. He's not just playing it frivolously, right?
Well, I swear he could, I just saw this list of the top guitar solos, and none of them were we're Tom Petty and Heartbreakers.
Yeah, which,
okay,
I mean,
so this is a bad list. But I thought, well, you know, the Tom's songs didn't necessarily always lend an option for him to play an extended lead or anything like that. So, you know, it's like, in some respects, I think he's more talented than any of them, you know, in terms of being able to, like I said, he'll put in 3 solos in one, you know.
Yeah.
You get your money's worth with his solos. And it's just compressed. It's just perfect. It just fits exactly where it should be. Whereas a lot of times it's just almost lazy, you know, some of the things.
Yeah, Benmont. Yeah, just lovely guy. And even before, like, I met him, and like, we're not friends. Like, we met for talking about the book, and we had a few Twitter messages afterwards after he told me he read it. But I just think that it's hard to decide impact between Mike and Benmont on the evolution of the band. But I just have always had a soft spot for Benmont's playing. And then once you meet him, he's just a lovely guy. So I think he's probably my favorite non-Tom Heartbreaker.
It's funny because they really are both musicians.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're a keyboard player, you understand how good Benmont Tench is.
Yeah.
And when you hear him, like, you know, because you think, oh, he's just a rock organ, but man, when you hear him rip out that boogie woogie stuff,
I know
the stride piano that he can play, it's like, the hell did that come from?
And then, like, he can turn into Nicky Hopkins. I mean, it's just it's so dynamic. It's incredible. Yeah.
Well, and a student of the craft too. Like, there's that sense of, I think, again, I was talking to Jaffe. He says he's still, the guy's in his 70s. He's had the career now. He still practices every day. You know what I mean? So there's that dedication to just keeping getting better and better and better. So yeah, always appreciate that too.
Yeah.
It's the keyboardist, Benmont
Tench.
Benmont Tench. That's right. That's right. And I'll tell you why. Because I mean, one, I know Mike Campbell is good, but I just feel like I'm assuming everyone says Mike Campbell, right? I just feel like I want there to be a not Mike Campbell answer for this question. So the reason I'm giving it to Benmont Tench is because I do admire the way he was able to use synthesizers without having it be corny on You Got Lucky. I think that song does not sound dated. I think the synthesizers are moody and cool. They don't sound cheesy. And I think it's very hard for a 70s band, especially a 70s band that was still basically sounds like a live band. Like the Heartbreakers were never very produced. Right? It was like, the synthesizer stuff on Southern Accents is like the most produced they ever got. And then Full Moon Fever is produced in a sort of Jeff Lynne way. That got kind of producery. But up to You Got Lucky, they were still very much like the record is just going to sound like the band playing their set.
Yeah.
And for many 70s bands to then go from playing like the keyboard instruments of the 70s to the synthesizers of the 80s, you really had to be sharp to not get sucked into like trendy, corny bullshit that would sound dated very quickly. And I think he avoided that. That song does not sound trendy or dated to me now. And I think that's a rare accomplishment for guys his exact age at that exact moment in pop music history. So I give it to him for that specific reason.
Well, we already talked about Scott, but Mike on lead is such a genius.
Yeah.
I can't think of a lead player I admire more for sticking to the song the way he does. And coming up with just the economical solo you need and all the fills and he's just so great on guitar.
And so versatile, man. Like, that guy can play anything. Yeah. It's unbelievable how good he is at just finding the bones of the song. Like I said, so there's a little bit in I just did Depending on You. That was this week's episode, which dropped today. Yeah. And there's a little bit of it's almost like a surf rock thing that he does. And it's just a little lick. It's not a solo. It's not a big part of the song, but it's just this little texture that he puts in to give the song exactly what it needs. And he does that all the time.
He's such a craftsman. Yeah. I just can't get over it. And you got to remember how much stuff he wrote with Tom. You know,
and other people.
He's written so much. That was the music parts that got into Tom's song. You know, Refugee, all that. Probably most of Refugees coming from Mike, right?
Yep, that's Mike's riff. Yeah, You Wreck Me, same thing.
All that stuff. So So you gotta, and the other guys are absolutely fabulous too. But I think Mike is just beyond compare.
One of my choices, but if I had to really make the choice, because I've met him and have hung out with him, is Steve Ferroni. It has to be, and I'm a drummer too, actually, as well. So Steve Ferroni for me.
Yeah, I would probably. Whoops, where's my light? I would probably say, Howie. I would.
Wow.
I would love to, I loved how, like, I'm trying to sing like what Howie does. I'm trying to play bass between Howie and Ron, and I'm trying to sing like what Howie did. And it's not easy because Howie was an incredible musician at so many levels, and he multi-instrumentalist. Just brilliant.
Producer, the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting, man. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of love for Howie. And again, I think there's that sentimental thing there that because he was such a gentle soul.
Absolutely.
Completely crippled by this awful disease. And, there's sort of that sentimentality. So I get that.
Yeah. It's sort of a cop-out answer, but, I love Ferroni. It's not really fair since I do know him, but I love what he epitomizes about the band. Like, I think he, the way in which they brought him in demonstrates that they were willing to mold to other people. Yeah. I think it also shows how great the songs are, that you could bring in someone, and he doesn't sound like Stan. He really doesn't. I think they have
nothing like
very, very different, not just like slightly different approaches, like their pockets are really different. Yeah. But to me, that speaks to how great the songwriting is that there's fluidity in the approach, and you still know how great a song it is. He also exemplifies sort of the generosity of spirit of everybody in that camp. I will say that Ron Blair comes back decades later. It's one of my favorite things in like rock and roll history. I just think that's so great. I don't know, Ferroni. When I was working with him, I just become a vegetarian, and he was at the time. I don't think he is anymore, but I wasn't driving yet, so he would leave the studio and go get us vegetarian food while I was doing vocal takes. Awesome. Yeah, I don't know. He could still be. I don't know. It might be a bit of a cop-out answer since I know him, but I'm going with Ferroni.
Well, yeah, sure, but I guess I'll go with the guy that I have met several times. That's only fair. So Steve Ferroni, let's go with him. But at the end of the day, in terms of musical contribution, it really is this little collective that that everybody occupies their place and does their thing. It really is a band, and I don't have I don't have a favorite. That question is good for people who have a favorite Beatle, have a favorite Stone, but I guess I don't.
Okay.
I never force myself to think that way, but I'll go Ferroni because that's the easy answer.
That was really, really tricky, dude. Because Rob Blair, because he just came back and nailed it, and because he just seems like possibly one of the loveliest men in the world.
Yeah.
But then having met Steve Ferroni, he's adorable. It's a bloody impossible. It's a stupidly impossible question.
I know. When I wrote him, I'm like, well, that's not fair. That one's not fair. That's too hard.
So I'll just say, I'm just going to say Rob Blair, because I reckon he'd give me really good advice. I reckon he's someone to go, look, I'd give him a really big problem. He'd go, well, this is what you got to do.
Yeah.
And I'd go, oh, it's okay. It's okay. Rob Blair says, it's okay.
For me, it's Benmont. Because, all the stuff he comes up with is complementary to the song and completely memorable.
Yeah.
Like with, to me, it was I got to work with some pretty big muckety mucks in my life, like U2 and stuff like that. And there's a thing where it talks about the difference between little art or crafts, right? And big art is that if you take this one component out, it becomes a craft or a little art. but if you put that one component in, it becomes art,
I love that.
And I think that, to me, is what Benmont, they all do it, but Benmont, when we're rehearsing the songs, or when if the Benmont flavors aren't in there, I kind of go, and I almost get giddy when our keyboard player will do something that I was like, oh, he's doing that part at the end of the song.
Yeah.
Like that piano riff at the end of Good to Be King.
Yeah.
That makes the song.
Right. And, it's funny because then, it inspired me to come up with a bass part, that mirrors the piano part. And so if it's not there, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's not, So to me, those are so I would say Benmont for me.
Well, I mean, because Benmont, listen to that guy play. That guy can play stride piano. That guy can do, he can play Hammond organ like an absolute MF. Like the guy can play anything. Right. But then when you listen to that piano part that he plays at the beginning of Crawling Back to You,
right,
it's this restrained, subdued, absolutely beautiful part because he understands the song because he listens. Yeah.
Well, and like in Southern accents.
Yeah.
Just that, you're right, that restraint, but totally without it, you're going, let's just go home if we don't have that. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, Benmont.
Absolutely. Chris.
Yeah. I have to say the same.
Yeah.
If for no other reason than, did you ever see the documentary Running Down a Dream?
Yeah.
And in that there's a scene in there where Benmont comes in and he's like, all you people just shut the fuck up. And he's like reading them the riot act, trying to get him back on track. And I was like, wow, you have such stones that you can go up to Tom Petty basically and tell him, to rein it in.
Yeah.
It was clear to me at that moment that he was not just a player in the band, that he was sort of part of the management, if you will, of how things got put together.
Yeah.
And even to the point of, of trying to, direct Tom when it came to certain parts of songs that were keyboard, forward, if you will. Yeah. So
he's one of the guys in the band who isn't interchangeable, right? I mean, you take out Ron and we find how you can manage that. You can manage the drummer changing. Benmont and Mike, you just can't take those out of the band.
You couldn't take him away, just like you couldn't take Mike Campbell away either.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing.
Well, but the fact that Ron comes back, though,
there
is
what a great story.
What a great story and what a great arc, and not, again, no dispersions because I had that whole different headspace, right?
Yeah.
And his singing, Tom never had a better background accompanist vocally.
Totally agree.
And so to me, Ron's pocket is undeniable, and that's really what I went for me is what I went to school on. Like I got to be able to come close to that pocket, and to me, the barometer is people dancing. Because people, there was a time where, in the 90s and early aughts that people were saying, no one dances to rock and roll. I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
They do at my shows.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, that benchmark there is when the band sings sings along, right? I mean, it's the dancing. I can tell when a crowd is into it. It makes us so much better. Like you said, that contract between the band and the crowd. But when I can sing, it's all right if you love me, and then put the mic out, and there it is, and that's always an amazing moment.
Yeah, this one's very, very tough for me again. Favorite child, but it's Mike. Mike's just my favorite as well. We talked about how much I love Benmont for his contributions, and the more you listen to these, the more you appreciate Benmont. But I lost a brother to substance abuse, so I got a little spot for Howie as well. And his vocals with Tom were magic as well. And then to see his demise, because obviously I mentioned how long I was going to shows. You could see the him slowly going downhill, not making the album cover shot for Echo. I drove up from San Diego to see them get their star in Los Angeles as well. And that was a sad time for him as well. So, but more positive note, Mike and his contributions are unbelievable. And again, still seeing the knobs. It's so happy that he did not hang up the cleats and he stayed out there and continues to rock. So it was great.
Okay, favorite band member. Favorite band member.
Oh, you said it. You actually said it. You unwittingly fell into saying Benmont without even realizing it. I mean, just like everybody that answers this question, it's like they're all my favorite Heartbreaker. Yeah. Everybody has their charms for sure. I think there's always been something, and I'll go back to the early days of the video era. For whatever reason, I just remember that he had kind of that afro going early in the Heartbreakers career, and there was just something automatically, I don't know, mesmerizing, cool about him. He's always had that cool demeanor, like not above it, but certainly like somebody that knows they're there for all the right reasons and wants to make it apparent that they belong on stage. He just always kind of exudes that cool self-confidence and I just, there's always been something really special about the accents that he gives to the band. Never looking to fight for center stage, but the organs right from the beginning, Stop Dragging My Heart Around, Breakdown, Refugee, all those sounds were just so important to the band, I felt, even though they weren't necessarily highlighted, but they were just so kind of crucial to forming that Heartbreaker sound. And I don't think I don't know if I'd say he doesn't get enough credit. I think people that know the Heartbreakers recognize how incredibly important he is to the stew. I'd have to say Benmont. Just love the way he does his thing.
Oh, I hate picking, but I don't know. I follow Benmont Tench on Instagram, and I think he just always seems like a really thoughtful, sweet guy, and he's always talking about the books he's reading, and I could imagine having a conversation with him, I guess.
You could have that's one thing I've always thought about Benmont is you could talk to Benmont about pretty much anything, not just music. Seems so well read across a variety, like about food, because his wife's a big foodie, but I bet you could talk to him about history, all those kinds of things. He's one of those people, and I always think he's very intense. If you're speaking to him, he'd be looking you dead in the eye the whole time he was talking, So.
Yeah, I just when I watched Wildflowers, I guess Wildflowers more than Running Down a Dream, but his quotes sort of stick out to me, right? The things that he says, and he talks about blacking out on the piano, doing Crawling Back to You, and that wow. I just think about what a high compliment that is to the songwriting, right?
Absolutely.
So I just imagined he seems pretty easy to talk to.
I got to go with Mike. I'm going to go with Mike Campbell. But my reason, Benmont, Mike is musicians. I can't separate them. But Mike's songwriting, I think, is where I'm going to give him the bump. And I know Benmont writes too and all that, but Mike, I guess more prolific and still writing all these songs and releasing new albums. So I'm going to go with Benmont. I mean, go with Mike for that as an added bonus. But they're all wonderful. And Steve Ferrone, I don't know that much about him personally, but I'm not a drummer at all. I don't play drums. I'm not a drummer, nothing. Don't know anything about percussion. But man, I mean, just incredible and the whole band. But I'm going to go with Mike Campbell.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with Mike either, though. I mean, it is funny because I wouldn't have said, even when I sort of got into Petty, long before I decided to do this podcast, and when I sort of I knew most of the catalog and I liked all of it, I still wouldn't have said Mike Campbell was one of my favorite guitarists, but he damn well is now. Because when you really dig into it, I know obviously you'll find this too, when you sort of really listening, not for, leisure reasons, but when you're actually listening for, okay, I've got to learn this now. And you listen to some of the stuff that he plays, you just think, yeah, this guy's just tapped into music in a different way than most people is. Like he hears things. He's so good at playing exactly the right thing so often that there's just something else going on there, right? You know, all the grace, it's just that's just different. That's a different level.
Yeah, I could look Dare to Dream, one of his new songs. Yeah, that strikes me exactly that way. It's like it's just perfect. It's just like, and he's done so many like that, and he keeps doing them. So that's why he gets the bump for things like that. So whether it was with Tom and the Heartbreakers or Tom solo or his in the Dirty Knobs, he just continues to do that. I don't know how he finds the riffs. I don't know how he finds, just adding notes to chords that,
bottomless well of riffs that man is. It's unbelievable.
I don't know how he does it.
This is probably the hardest question, and I will honestly answer. So the notes I wrote the other night, my answers changed.
And we'll probably change again tomorrow, right? So
it could, because I was going to say Scott Thurston.
Nice.
But I changed my mind. And nothing against Scott Thurston, but I just thought, looking at this from a pure personality standpoint, not musical ability, that would.
Yeah.
I just think Steve Ferroni would just give you the best smile, the biggest hug, and be just such a wonderful, loving presence.
Yeah.
That I could imagine, and the things that I've read about him. Just a person you would come away from feeling really good about yourself.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And I said this on one episode this season that I do think that Ferroni coming into the band really not saved the Heartbreakers, but I think it really changed that dynamic where there's no tension anymore with Stan. There's no drama.
Yeah.
Steve comes in and like you said, I mean, okay, if everything's going to hell, well, just look around. You've got that big grin back there. He's a super relaxed guy. He's never going to bring any of that nonsense into the studio with him. And also he's going to play anything you want him to play. Not perfect, probably second take, right? So
right. And just kind of has this vibe of, hey, everything's all right.
Yeah.
Don't have to get upset about anything right now, you know?
Other than Tom. Oh, Stan.
Yeah.
Stan the Man Lynch. Yeah. Love him. I love him, man. I love that sound of the. He's such a huge part of that original sound. I mean, I love Mike Campbell. Don't get me wrong, man. He's the dude. But as a fan of drums, I just love drums. I'm always just tuned into the drums. He's my man, Stan.
But isn't that such a blessing that Tom had Stan when he needed Stan, and then he got Steve Ferroni when he needed Steve Ferroni?
Yep, when he was ready to move into a different direction.
It's unusual that. But I was talking to someone about this the other day about. I think one of the things with Petty was he was very observant, so he knew. If a door to an opportunity opened, he always went through it. He didn't let it slam shut until when, Ferroni comes in after they've trialed. Kenny Aronoff comes in and doesn't book the gig with Wildflowers.
Oh, did he try out Aronoff?
So Aronoff was loading out. Steve Ferroni's coming into the studio. Yeah.
How about that? Yeah.
So, but it's not quite the right fit, right? As good as Aronoff is, he's just not, there's something there that, okay, it's not quite gelling, and when Steve Ferroni comes in, but Tom just knew that. He's okay. Yeah, this is the guy. He gets it. He knows exactly what I want, and he's exactly the right guy right now.
Well, I have fingers and toes, and I have no favorites. I love them all, and I can't sacrifice any of them. I can't identify which is my favorite finger or toe. But you're not asking about fingers or toes, right? So Mike Campbell has with the Dirty Knobs has 3 albums out. I own them. I love them all. I've seen them twice. I will see them more. And I have this show next month with Mike Campbell as part of the band tribute. So I'd have to say him, but I love Benmont. I love his first album. I look forward to the new one. I look forward to seeing him in New York in February for the residency. So maybe 2.
He's going to go with Benmont and Mike.
Yeah.
It's Stan Lynch.
Okay.
It's my favorite. Yeah. I don't know. That's probably not the most common answer I would guess. But
I think you might be the first of sort of 20 or so. Yeah. I think you might be the first.
I'm glad. Well, that's what I'm here to do, is break the mold. Right. But, so I have always felt with those Heartbreakers albums that, which is why I was kind of distraught about him leaving the band, is that his sound was so important to the Heartbreakers. And I thought that separated the Heartbreakers from every other band, is the way he played drums.
Yeah.
And the way they recorded the drums on the albums.
Yeah.
And they were so big.
Yeah, well, Torpedoes changed the
and
way
so
that people
tasty
might
too,
drum
though.
kits,
Not
right?
just loud, they were tasty, right?
Well, Stan gets lumped into that power drummer category, right? Big hitter, big heavy hitter and everything. But Stan had, he played side stick. He didn't play match grip. He played traditional grip, and he played really intricate parts, but he could lay on the volume when he needed it. But very, very tasty drummer. I completely agree.
And I love, Mike Campbell, and I love Benmont Tench. And I love both of them. I probably, it's very close between Mike Campbell and Stan Lynch, but I thought it would be more interesting to say Stan Lynch than the obvious choice.
Yeah, of course.
Well, Benmont's running a very close second in this because he's so versatile. But I've got to be a bit predictable and go for Mike. He's a guitar hero. He's got lots of that Harrison taste and sensibility in his playing, and I already love Harrison, so he knows how to play for the song. He's the songwriter. He's your number two on the biggest impact on the Petty catalogue, because he's not written as many as Petty, and all the ones he's written pretty much are co-writes, but he's there. He's, and we know from Boys of Summer that a lot of his writing style is probably, it gives a different side to Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Opposed to them, he's bringing in almost this, an initial idea that Tom's then working on, maybe certainly lyrically and possibly with some of the melody, but a lot of the backing, I'm presuming, has come from Mike from a demo. So, Mike's probably chosen chord sequences and so forth. So you get a whole, he's so essential. But if you think about that, I mean, I've never counted up the percentage. Do you know the percentage of Mike songs as Mike co-writes
as a whole?
Percentage of the whole? Yeah, I don't know.
It's probably sitting. I've never actually done the math, but my guess would be somewhere around 10%.
Right,
8 to 10% would be my guess. So I'll calculate that after, and I'll message you. I'll see how close I am. That would be my guess.
Okay, but still not an insignificant amount.
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah, and Long After Dark, 40%.
Mike.
Easy? Was that an easy one?
That was an easy one. Just because he's a guitar player.
Yeah.
I also like that I like his guitar philosophy. You'll find, and I think as a musician, you probably recognize this. I hear that in your questions. When you hear a musician, it's how they sound is 90% their attitude as a person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if someone's really uptight, they're going, right? But if they're laid back, the sound. And so Mike Campbell is such a laid back guy. His style feels so laid back. And then also his whole philosophy is I just want to say what I have to say and get done.
Yeah.
So he, when you listen to his solo, it's dang, you said it,
Well, and just, I think the thing that, again, like I said, that revelation that Campbell's another genius within this band, that he was just happy to be part of the band. He never, he had all these licks, Boys of Summer.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of musicians after that song was a huge hit for Don Henley might have thought, well, hang on a minute. I've got some really good songs here. I should go and try and do something with this myself. But what he wanted to do was make sure that he gave the best parts to Tom and the Heartbreakers. That was his band, man. That's my band,
the story of how they met, that sealed it. Oops, I almost knocked the neck down. You don't say that often. Oh my gosh. Well, but I think that they had an incredible, Mike and Tom had a bond, and that just kind of solidified his loyalty to the band. And that is really hard to find. And I'm a little jealous of Tom in that way.
Do you want the boring answer? Or do you want the interesting answer?
Well, both. We've got time for both.
Okay. Well,
what's your honest answer?
Boring answer is, as you'd expect, Mike Campbell, because he is just he's the GOAT. He is just so good. Such a good songwriter, and I feel the same way as you do. I definitely feel like, without Mike, a lot of those Tom Petty Heartbreakers songs wouldn't have come out the same way. Now, that's not to say Tom Petty wouldn't have been big, but sonically it would be so different, and I love that sound. So I owe him that praise. I think any Tom Petty fans will tell me, they will just tell you that sound is like defining again. It is Tom Petty. So I will say Mike Campbell as my boring answer, and I'd say slightly more niche answer would be Stan Lynch. I'd say because I think, again, not to disrespect anyone, but there's something really goofy and funny about him that I've always like, oh, this guy is like so much charisma, so funny. Like from the the tapes they used to record while they were on tour. God, I forgot the name of the album. They actually re-released it recently as well.
Long After Dark.
God. Sorry. Yeah. But when they were on, I think it's during that era, Stan was just carrying a little camera around in the hotel rooms, and he would just film everything. And I just think, oh, that's such a cool guy as well. And I just love that like hard hitting sound on the drums. That's definitely not something that you will really get from Steve Ferroni, and that's fine. I love Steve Ferroni as well. I also love the Standish sound, and that's my favorite. I actually, if I had to pick a Tom Petty era, I'd probably go for the first few decades back when Ron Blair and they were all in it together. The sort of foundation.
Original
that's
lineup.
my favorite.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Oh man, that's a tough one. I love Benmont. He brings so much to it. So many different. He's kind of a multi. He's the multi-tool. For the band. But as a guitar player, I got to go with Mike. I mean, there's no Heartbreakers without Mike. You know what I mean?
No.
I mean, he writes a lot of the riffs, you know what I mean? He brings a lot of the kind of like chord progressions and stuff to Tom before the songs, get written. I feel like without Mike, it's a different band altogether.
So, well, I'm just it has to be Mike. I won't pull any punches on this one. I don't know the history of the band inside out. Like I say, I'm a relative newcomer to being a Tom Petty fan. But I think particularly Mike's book gave me a really, great insight into that as well, and getting to know some of the other personalities. I love Benmont. I just think he just strikes me as a really cool dude, basically. And what I was struck by actually listening to the book was how in awe of him Mike was, his musicality, and how basically everybody was. And it was like, out of everybody that, he's kind of worked with, it was Benmont, the one that he was like, he just was genius, out and out genius. It was Mike's view. And clearly he's a great player, but it's interesting that somebody at Mike's level and having worked with him for that long, Benmont was the one that he really kind of picked out as being at that extra level again. So, and I just love, I think the bits that Benmont adds, see, it'll take a long time to go through them, but just the bits that he adds in the songs, the parts that he plays, and like you've said, and I've heard you say many times, I'll talk about Mike as well, playing for the song, that's what Benmont is. But predictably, it has to be Mike. I liked him anyway as a guitarist, and for the bits that I knew about him, having listened to his book, I really like him. He seems like a very likable, human being, really solid, down to earth, clearly was very shy when he was younger, and it must be a funny combination to be kind of quite shy and naturally probably quite a humble person, but also incredibly talented as well, and having kind of worked through that as well. And it's just what's clear as well is how important he was to the band and Tom being able to make it. And yeah, Tom was clearly ultimately the kind of driving force. But what I've learned is when that kind of that split happened and they tried to, the record company were getting Tom to go solo, he fought for what I could hear, or understand. Tom, didn't want that, but he recognized the reality of it. But he kept Mike. He insisted on keeping Mike. That was a deal breaker for him. And Mike was the one that I couldn't, I don't want to lose the others, but, okay, that's the direction we're going, but give me Mike. He needed Mike. So, really kind of, respect to him from that. And clearly there, Mike contributed a lot in terms of songwriting, over the and it was interesting again to learn around how he did that. They didn't write songs together.
Yeah.
Mike kind of wrote the music and and sort of, recorded it and everything. And they gave it to Tom, and then Tom would sometimes, turn that into a song. Yeah. And sometimes, he kind of wouldn't, but Mike was just really prolific and kept doing that. And it was interesting that Mike was, I don't know if jealous is the right word, but there seemed a little bit of that when he found, I've been working for Tom for however many years. And then we've never sat down and written songs together. Oh, here's Tom sitting down with Jeff Lynne and they're just writing songs together now. Yeah. So, but he accepted it. He clearly wasn't always, I wouldn't say treated in the right way, but there was a hierarchy, clearly and understandably. But Mike just seems like a really solid stand-up guy, and I think again, as I've heard you mention, I think it's a good point. He could have done other things certainly when he got to a certain level, but he wanted to stay with Tom. He loved Tom. He loved the band, and the end of the book, and probably because it was an audio book as well, when he's talking about he's basically directly talking to Tom and talking about how he feels about him. His voice is kind of breaking a little bit. I found that really moving as well. And for someone like Mike, he's not a guy who who allows himself to kind of be perceived as like outwardly emotional. Ultimately, I think other than Tom, the most important band member, not to disrespect, they're all great, very important, but it just seems like a super cool guy to me.
Other than
Scott
Tom.
Thurston.
Okay. The Swiss Army knife. Okay.
Scott Thurston. Yeah. I like the fact that he can be anywhere.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he's a multi-instrumentalist. I like the fact that I've always said that if I ever saw the Heartbreakers in a guitar store, I would go up to Scott and I would just be so starstruck.
Yeah.
And I would ask for his autograph, and then I would say, "Who are your friends?" Because I'm sure he doesn't get that. And I want him to have that. I love the fact that my introduction to him was harmonica, because my introduction to music was harmonica. And it's always been my first instrument, and I've always considered Scott Thurston to be the harmonica player of the Heartbreakers, just because it was the first time I saw him play with them.
Yeah, there's that version, my favorite version of Walls, which we're going to, I can get that question soon, but is the PBS special where Tom's wearing that kind of black polo neck and he comes out and he says, "Everywhere I look, it's me." And he's kind of looking up at the TVs.
Yeah,
and then Scott sings the backing vocals and then he does the harmonica.
Yes.
And it's just like, oh my, because I've got my harmonica here that I'm still supposed to be learning. I haven't sat down in time to it. But when it's played well, when a harp's played well, it's just the best sound in the world.
It's fantastic. And it's a lot. I think it's a lot easier than it's made out to be.
Okay.
Once you get there's like a little tiny hump of intuition. Take that how you will. That you have to get over. And then once you get over that little hump, it's like, oh, everything is intuitive to harmonica.
Okay, just one more reminder to please go leave me a voice message or an email with your written thoughts on what the word mojo means to you or what the album means to you. Either use the SpeakPipe link in the episode notes or drop me an email at kevin@kevbrown.ca. That's KEVIN @KEVBROWN.ca. And I'll be reading those thoughts out during the course of season 15. Tom Petty Project is a proud member of the Boneless Podcasting Network, which is a loose collective of podcasting friends and acquaintances brought together and championed by the inimitable Chaz Charles. Go check out the roster by clicking on the link in the episode notes. You can also check out my other podcast in the network, Seaside Pod Review, a Queen podcast that I co-host with my very best friend Randy Woods, who performs all the music that you hear in this podcast. And you should also check out the Ultimate Catalog Clash that I co-host with my other very great pal, Corey Morrissette. We are just about wrapping up In Excess on season 9 of that show and then into season 10. Don't forget to come follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube at The Tom Petty Project, and on Blue Sky at Tom Petty Project. Go follow, like, subscribe as applicable, and again, please leave a review or a rating if you haven't had a chance to do that already. Keep talking to me on social media, and I'll keep reading out as many of your comments on the show. And as your weekly reminder, the Tom Petty Project is not affiliated with the Tom Petty Estate in any way. So, when you're looking for Tom's music, please visit official streaming platforms, or better yet, go to your local independent record seller, grab some physical media, and support your local businesses. If you're looking for official merchandise, go to store.tompetty.com. If you're looking for merch for this show, please go to store.tompettyproject.com. Don't forget to check out the Tom Petty Nation and Tom Petty Fans Forever groups on Facebook, and make sure you're listening to Tom Petty Radio on Channel 31 on Sirius XM. Until we meet again next week, keep listening to and sharing Tom's music. Try to be kind. Try to say I love you to someone at least once a day. Stay safe and healthy, and I'll be back with you next week to finally kick off season 15. It's time to get your mojo on. Bye-bye.